everybody, and welcome back to Musings by Nikki. I'm here today with a flip through of 3 Lapbooks that I have created. After the last wildflower project that I created, I had kind of had this in mind as the last thing I wanted to try and get done quick before school starts back up. And today was my first day back to school. I am the school secretary, and so this was the first day back to my office. And look at this. I was able to, come home and make some supper, and I'm here to flip through this project. These were so fun. This one is very different than these two. These two are a little more similar. They are obviously, it's like small, medium, large kind of. This one is a teacher school theme, which is perfect for this time of year, right? Maybe you have a special teacher in your family or in your life or in your, student's life or something. This would be perfect for that. And then this is kind of an herbalist, naturalist. And then this is a forest and woodland, which look at this perfect cover. I have had this in my stash for the longest time, waiting for the perfect moment, and this was perfect. So I'm just going to start flipping through them. I will go smallest to biggest because I am not even on my filming table today because Lapbook. I was trying to figure out how in the world am I going to try and film these, because this one's not so bad. But by the time I get to the big one, I'm going to have to be creative in filming it. So you get to look at my lovely plywood art desk here. It's nothing gorgeous, but it's huge, and I built it to fit in all of my stuff. And it's this big, huge desk. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Anyway, these are, this is a classroom. It's called The Classroom Teacher, and this is a Lapbook. And this is actually a cover from a book from the 1925 or 27, I want to say. And it was a set of these books called The Classroom Teacher. So this one is number 1. And they're awesome. It's like if you were a teacher, these in the 20s, these are the books that would tell you basically like what curriculum you needed to teach and everything. There was a set of 6 of them, and in 6 books, it basically outlined how to be a teacher. They're super fun to do some reading and flipping through. Man, has education changed. But this is just, they're lovely covers. So there we go. And there's definitely some aging, around edges and stuff. But I think that's what makes them look cool. Let me tell you what the actual book itself measures here, the cover. It's 5 3/4 by 8.5. And it is, oops, bonking my camera. It's just shy of 2-inch spine. It's like a 1 3/4 spine. So let's go ahead and open this guy up. On the inside, I used the Columbia Viking Desk Encyclopedia, and this is another vintage one. I want to say this is from maybe the 40s. So that's the cover I used here, and then I have stitched the spine of that into the spine of this book on the inside here. So this was particularly the L to Z version. Here we've got a little library pocket. This could be your, oh my gosh, identification. And these are from my kit, the old Schoolhouse. So I have used my old Schoolhouse kit throughout this as well. We'll flip out this side first. So on this side, in this bow, this is just backed and this is just a tie on this first panel. And this actually is a little mini journal. So I wanted these to be something that you could definitely use as a lap book and do all the little bits and pieces and stuff. But I also wanted there to be, a way that you could journal still and use them as a journal. So in here, I have used my old school book, my old Schoolhouse kit, and it's just got some random stuff. This one is not decorated all that much. These are some of the pages of this original school, the teacher's book. This one's talking about following up the first day's work. Yeah, the classroom teacher book. It's awesome. So these are from my kit, and then like I said, I've got some of those book pages in here. This is starting the school year. Here's a suggested schedule. Recess for the children, music or writing. They're awesome. Anyway, the classification of pupils. There you go. That one's going to tell you how to classify your pupils. So this is, I don't even know how many pages. There's a goodly amount of pages in this little mini journal, and it's just not that thick because there's not a bunch of like pockets and things like I would normally put in a journal. And then it just closes like this. And on the end it has a little Tim Holtz charm that just says, "In my heart." So that ties back into here. And so you could, you could switch this out once that journal gets full. And if you wanted to keep using the rest of this to organize things or whatever, you could certainly switch this out with another, just make another small journal or signature that size. Then in this next panel, we've got a windy guy closure. If you haven't been here long, that's what I call that. I think it's technically called a button and string, but I prefer windy guy. So this opens up and it's just a place to write. You could stick things in here and then close this back up. These embellishments are from my kit. All right. And then that actually flips open. And back here, we've got a pocket. And then I had some vintage pieces of things from friends and family. And this is a Bemidji State Teachers College, some sort of like a receipt from the union. So it's a rental. Oh, it looks like, I just am now seeing it. Rental of cap and gown, $3. Something on tassel, 50 cents. This is from 1952. So here we go. This is this is from the Teachers College when she was obviously graduating. So we've got a couple of tags and journaling cards. And then right here, we've got a bag that flips open. But on the front of this bag, there is a piece that comes in my old Schoolhouse. It's just an old report card. And then in there, there is a tag. It says, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." That's a quote from Benjamin Franklin. So there's definitely space in like envelopes and pockets that you could put additional things, pieces of memorabilia, photos. And that's just clipped over the front of this bag. And then in the bag, there are a couple of flashcards. Hold on, guys, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. A couple of flashcards that are a little older. I don't know if I'd say vintage, but they're older. And then this little paper bag flips back. There are a couple of pockets that I made out of like vocabulary flashcards in Spanish. And then there are, in the pockets, there are some little embellishments from my kit. You could stick other things in there as well. And then on the back, I backed this section with the principles and characteristics of good teaching. And there is this little card catalog pocket that comes from my kit. And in there, there are these this pocket and these little file folder index cards, history, English, and biology. Those come in my kit as well. So I just put those down at the bottom. This pocket is nice and big. You can put other things in there as well. So those close up, and that's the first two sections. And then we'll move over here to these two sections. In this first or next section, I have an old vintage library card pocket backing on an envelope. So in this pocket here, there are a couple of tags or journal cards that come in my kit. And then there is this Louisa May Alcott. It's like a playing card, and it talks about books that she wrote. So that's in the pocket there. And then when you flip that over, it's an envelope. And in the envelope there is just a journaling card here with a little Tracy Fox tag on there. And that goes in there. And then this is a map. And this was actually, I believe, a page from this encyclopedia. And in this tall, it's a little flip out here. And this is the Pacific world. And in there, there are a couple of these tall pocket slots. And so there are just some tall tags that you could journal on. And those go in those tall pocket slots there. And then that flips open. And there is this class roll book. And I've made a clear pocket there. And that's Classroom Control, a page from the book. And a nice big journaling card here in this big old pocket. Which, of course, does not want to go back in for me. There we go. This is a Tim Holtz piece here. And then these words, as you see throughout, like teacher and schoolhouse and stuff, those all come from my kit as well. So those close, and then this flips back, and I've got a couple of pockets, and these are pieces from Tracy Fox stuff. And then I've got a couple of folded up in there, just little books that are meant to keep special dates, like birth dates or student information and things. And they have quotes from a bunch of different poems and famous authors. So there's one of those in each of these. And then that opens up as well to some journaling space, or again, you could attach or print or stick things in there. And then on the back of this section, there is another windy guy closure. And when you open that up, there is another little, this is just a little piece of bridge score paper. And then there's another mini signature journaling space here with some tea-dyed papers. And you could definitely include other things. In here, there is plenty of space to put other things in here, and then windy guy it shut. So I've put things in here as placeholder and space holder and interest, but then there is also space for you to do things. So that flips, and then you've got your, flippy guys here. Then on to the last section. We've got a file folder flip out here, and attached with a paper clip, and I don't know what to call those, but that cool looking paper clippy thing. You'll see them in the other ones too. There was in some of these boxes of bits and pieces that I get from my friends who've been cleaning out their mother Dorothy's house for a while now. I get these awesome things that they send me. Now, she was a teacher for many years, and her husband was as well, and a principal. And these are, even in her older life, she audited classes just because she loved to learn. And these are some notes. I just loved it. So these are notes about, this is like hieroglyphs, Egyptian hieroglyphs. Then there's just, it's random stuff. Base 10, Hindu, Arabic and decimal, numbers, abstract concepts, math. I mean, it's just the notes. The notes are super cool. Anyway, I just thought this totally belongs in a teacher's thing. You know, you could definitely, you don't have to keep it there. There's lines on this file folder, so you could make notes there. But I just thought it was super cool. So I attached that. That flips out. There are lines here as well. You could write on here. There is another windy guy here. And this is an envelope that flips. And in the envelope, there's a big collaged tag, collaged with a bunch of papers. And then that flips open. And on the back side, there are a couple of things. Back here, there's a pocket. And it's got a piece from my kit. And then this is actually the opening page of a Reader's Digest book that I turned into a journaling space. So those go back behind here, and that's going behind an envelope, and in the envelope there's another collaged tag. And in front of the envelope there's another pocket that I made, and I put a window in here, and this is a tag from my kit that fits down in there. And you can see the little handwriting through the window. And then on this side, there is a very vintage picture of a Boston fern with a bunch of information about it. And I put the science thing there. And there is a tag, a file folder tag in there. And then that is on top of a very old envelope that also has just a journaling card slipped in the side of its pocket as well. And then that whole section flips open. And back in here, there's another, I just kind of tore the edges and made another little journaling space. And it's got some pages. These are some pages from a student workbook from the 50s. And this is a little envelope that has in the front of it this old letter from somewhere in Mexico, and I believe the date on it is 1912. So I stuck that in. I just thought it was really cool. And then in here there is a recipe for peach jam, but it's also a journaling card. I thought, as teachers, we're more than just educators, right? We also do other things in our life, and I just loved that little peach jam one. Here's some vocabulary out of that student workbook, and then just, again, some more places to journal. So we close that back up, and then we've got the envelopes there. And then there's one more surprise with this one. That whole thing flips open like this. And this is the classroom teacher, the cover page, and that flips open, and there's some journaling space in here. And then this is an absentee grading thing for an attendance thing from school. So I put that on the front here. That is very old. And that's on this envelope. That flips open. And out of that comes a journaling card that I made. And this has a plan for like a workflow for pupils from one of those books. And last but not least, this pocket here on the back side of this, on the back side of this whole envelope has some lined papers in there for writing and taking notes as well. and those fit nice and snug down in there. There's several pages of those. So that hole, this flips open, this closes, this all closes, that's all closed, that closes. And there we go. There is the entire student one, student teacher lap book. Okay, check. That's number one. Next, moving on to, that was small, here's medium. This one I'm calling the Naturalist. It has a nice metal plate there. This is a much wider one. This one measures 6 1/4 by 9 1/2, and this is a, ooh, it's like 2 3/4 inches spine. So I've took some old, and these were book covers that were just kind of inconsequential. They were just, they're older, but they didn't have anything super uber special going on. So I've put some layers of paint on there to kind of age them and make them look a little older. And then I scuffed some away. And then this is like a canvas duck cloth kind of thing going on here. And let's flip through this. This one is the Naturalist or the Herbalist. A lot of this stuff in this one comes from Tracy Fox and a kit that she did, I believe, with Artie Mays several years ago, where it was like the Herbalist or herbal, natural herbal stuff. And then there are also a bunch of Mrs. Cog, healing herbal teas, blooms of healing plants, and then these are alpine flowers. So on the front 2 pages here, I just created some kind of frames, and this says healing herbal teas, blooms of healing plants, and there's some alpine flower pictures in there. And oh, and in the center of this one, there is also, I left a tie a la Nick the Booksmith that you could tie in if you wanted to slide under a traveler's notebook or a journal, a single signature journal. You could definitely slide that under there and tie it in there tight. I didn't include one, but you could certainly do that. This thing is kind of thick and enough by itself, but there is room that you could slip something in there and tie it in there. So, all right, let's just go to the side here again. In this first one, we have got, these are just, they're lovely kits. This one is stuffed full of all kinds of goodies. So this is a big envelope. It flips open. Inside, there is this whole stack of tags. So it's basically like a tag booklet, and there are probably at least 10 tags. And you can definitely write on the backs of all of them. It'd be a great place if you do like doing natural teas or herbal recipes or remedies. This would be a great place to write a bunch of those recipes down and keep that in here. And then this is a little seed envelope, and that flips out. Inside of there is a little journaling card folder. Oops, wrong way. These are from Tracy Fox as well, little tea cards. This is Common Thistle. This is from Mrs. Cog, and that's a big journaling card there. So those close, and then that whole thing opens. Let me see, I gotta move my water so we can get in frame here. That whole thing opens, and on the back side here, there's a big pocket. I didn't put anything in that pocket. On the front side, there is a pocket, and I have got some of the things from the, I believe these are from the Mrs. Cog kit, and then this is from the Tracy Fox collaboration kit. So these things all go down in this pocket. Plenty of places to write little notes, little quotes. And then here I have sewn in a signature. And this one I did decorate a little. I just put little features, not much. It's not a huge signature, but I've put a few little things here and there. And then on the back of that one, I have some envelopes, and in the envelopes, there are some of these cards: wintergreen, plantain coneflower, bloodroot, butterwort. These are from the Mrs. Coggs kit, and I've got plenty of those kind of sprinkled in throughout. And then here are a couple of these journaling cards. And I've got those in an envelope. And then in this little tiny one, I've got one of my field notes cards that comes with my Naturalist kit, and then just a piece of old tape that I created on one of these Tracy Fox cards inside a tiny little pocket. So that all closes up, and that's that section. Then we move on to this section. This is one of my favorite sections. We're going to go to that in a second. But up here, I've got a pocket that folds out, and it's just stuffed with some more of those medicinal herb, plant recognition cards right here. And those are in these pockets. And then in this last pocket, or not last yet, we've got another one of my field notes cards and some more plants. And then in the top, there is another one of these little folders. So that's that. And then that flips open. And on the back, I've got this little bundle of cards. And this comes from the Tracy Fox kit again. And those flip open. I've got them attached at the bottom, and there's just a little faux enamel number 2, and those slide up underneath this paper clip there. And then there are a couple of envelopes that flip up, and in this one there are a bunch more of the medicinal herb cards: elderberry, cilantro, rosemary, yarrow, herbal cards. Those all go in this one. There are probably like 10 of them there. And then in this one, there is just a tag in there. A couple of tags, actually. And then on the very back, there is a paper clip that's behind this piece that's glued on. And then I've just folded up a couple of pieces of paper that you could take notes. And those are just kind of stuck in here as well. So those flip, and this flips back over. Then this little guy is probably my favorite part of this whole thing. It is magnetized, so it's got a magnet, and it clips back on there and stays in place nice and tight. And it's got a windy guy, and it says Healing Herbal Teas. And if you open it up, there are, A through Z little things. And each one has in it the different types of teas and what they are good for. So calendula, wounds, antifungal infections, burdock root, chamomile, and it says what they're good for. So those are, each one of these has got a little file, and it's got all of them in there, and there's a whole bunch of them. And I made this little expandable file, so you could definitely put your own things in there as well, and then that just magnetizes back in. So that's that side. Oops, I have a straggler. All right, this side, I hope I'm staying in frame. I should be checking more. Up here I've got a big fold out, and in the top of this one I've got a little mini notebook with a couple of pages of paper in there that you could take notes, write about your herbs, write about teas, write about your garden. And that goes back in the top of this pocket. And then I put a big window in there. And then down here, there's a little flippy envelope with a bumblebee wax seal on it. And there's one of the tags from the Tracy Fox kit in here. So those both flip open. On the back side of the big one, there are a couple things. There's a pocket here with another fold out journaling space. And then there's one of the Tracy Fox slides. And behind that, there are some more of these herbal cards: lavender, licorice root, peppermint, and valerian. And those go in back there. Then I've got a kind of torn envelope pocket. Here's one of the alpine flowers. I love that kit from Mrs. Cog. There's a little circle embellishment and a couple of little tiny thyme, herbal, and parsley tickets down there. And that's in this cute little mini brown paper bag. And then in this envelope, there is a big tag. And then that flips open, and in the back side of that envelope are some of these botanical cards, and then wild leek and garlic. Dwarf wallflower cabbage, Meadows lady smock. These are from Tracy Fox as well. And then another little space to put some notes. And then on the back, I've got some big layered pockets with a big giant tag. And I didn't decorate that one because I thought you could put whatever you wanted. In this next slot, there's one of the big tags from the Tracy Fox kit. There is also clipped into that slot an envelope with just some writing papers in there. And then on the bottom, there's a pocket down here with a Curious Herbal, copies of the A Curious Herbal book from very, very old. And those come, I believe, in the Mrs. Cog's kit. I'm going to clip this back on. Like so. So, flips in, flips over. That is that section. Lastly, we've got this section here. So another windy guy here. And in there, there's a whole nother mini journal. So this one's got some decoration on the front. And this one's a nice big full signature. You have plenty of room to write in here. And I have just done a little tiny bits of embellishment, but that's about it. Kind of rough cut the edges here. Choppy, rough cut, scrappy and grungy kind of. Using some of that Tracy Fox kit. Some butterflies, some patterned papers. And yeah, I'm skipping pages here. I don't know how many pages are in here, but there is certainly a good amount of space to do some writing or note-taking, memory-keeping kind of things. So that whole mini journal goes into this file folder here. And then this is actually attached to the back side. So to close this whole section up, you do the windy guy. It doesn't just close this, because then this actually folds open. And on the back side, there is a paper clip that goes through. And there's just a flower identification. And then there are some more pieces of paper here that you could write on, take notes on. So again, plenty of places to take notes. And then there's a big pocket here with a window through it and a little butterfly tied onto this tab there with some twine. And this is a big envelope, and in there is some big journaling cards, and you can write them, decorate them. And this is a nice big envelope. There's plenty of room to put additional stuff in there. It's a nice big wide one. Then on the back side of this part, we have this very loaded set of pockets. And they, again, have more of these little herbal cards in them. St. John's wort, comfrey, flax. What do we have? Wild geranium, wild ginger, blackberries, rose hips. and these have little tabs on them as well. And then in the very back, we've got Western Yarrow, Common Comfrey, and Valerian. And all of these pockets definitely have room for other things as well. So that closes this way, and then this all closes this way. And this pocket is big enough here. I put nice big baffles on the side here. So, you know, you could definitely fit a whole another little journal in there. You could fit a bunch of stuff in there, honestly. That one's nice and big. And it doesn't matter how big it gets because you can windy glide it closed. So there is this one. We're going to call this one Naturalist. However, you could take this out. That's just loose in there. You can take that out and switch it out with your name or whatever you wanted to put in there. That's that one. All right. And lastly, we've got the big guy. This, like I said, I've had this cover. It's from the 50s, the early 50s. And it's the National Audubon Society, and it's this really cool book, and I've used pages from this book in several other projects. This, as you can see, is kind of a gold. Yeah, it's just super cool. Forest and Woodland. So I've used those covers as the, obviously, as the covers, and I'm going to have to make sure I'm staying in frame here because this is a big guy. It measures 8.5 by 11, and it has a 2-inch spine. All right, and that's a fabric covered spine, and I put this little leather tab up top. I just liked the way that looked. And let's go ahead and open this one. You guys, I got back into some Woodland and just loved it. I went ham. I love this. So right away on the fronts of the two flips that will eventually flip out, I used some of the Tim Holtz vellum nature papers and made these two huge pockets. And then inside of those, they're sewn across with some of that leaf trim on the edges, and then I've got a collage down here and a wax seal with a little pine cone, you know, wax seal with the pine cone stamp in it. And then these are some of my botanical definition cards or rip strips, and so I've used those in a bunch of places. They're a great filler. These are some Tracy Fox toadstools. And in this pocket, in both of these pockets, I've got this great book that was like Fisheries, Game, and Forests book. And that's not even the one that this cover comes from. It's a totally different one. And there are some of these wonderful plates, designed plates in the prints in the book. And they're on this thick paper. And they're of different animals and different parts of the forest and different fish. And so they've got little numbers and then there's corresponding information. But these plates, these print plates are so gorgeous. So and they were perfect. They're nice and big. And I've backed the pockets here with some of that those book pages as well. So these make great big tags to go in here into these two pockets. This one is the ring-necked pheasant female. Another one of these lovely plate prints. And it's on that nice big card, and it makes such a great big huge journaling card there. So we've got these, and then down the spine, like I said, I've got some Tracy Fox toadstools, and I've got this big sewn in paper here that goes down through the middle. It's fabric reinforced spine, same on the last ones as well, so they are good and in there well. I used old file folders to make these flip outs on this one. And we'll start again over here with another windy guy. This is a big pocket that I made out of this huge book that I have. And it's like a really old plat maps of rural counties in North Dakota. And I don't even remember how old it is, but it's old. But the pages are super thick. I love it. I keep thinking how to use it, and then I was making this very large scale book and I went, oh my gosh, those huge pages are perfect for folding up into a policy envelope. So that's what I did. So that opens, and I've got another one of those awesome plates. This is the mallard duck, a female mallard duck, and there's all kinds of journaling space on the back of these wonderful prints. This policy envelope is definitely big enough that you could put your own things in there as well. Papers, you could journal and put things in there. This is a nice big envelope. And, oops. On the front of that, I've just done some collaging with some little die cuts and some stamps and some paper ribbon and sewing. All right, so that, let's see, I gotta go like this because now we're going to flip that open. And that brings us to this layout. On the back side of it, there are some pockets. And these are some of Tracy Fox's toadstools. I've used them through because I just love mushrooms. Some of these are from some of my kits, some of my freebies that I did for a year on, those two things are from my freebies that I was doing on Journal Inspirations Facebook group. Then here I've got a big journaling fold out, and you could definitely, this is nice and thick. I think I had at some point, this was in my stash, at some point I thought I might sew in a signature or some pages. You certainly could do that. It's just a faux, I think that's maybe from Graphics Fairy, but that goes in that big pocket. And then we move over here. I've got some hand-dyed fabric ribbon that I've sewn some of the vine over the top. And then I've made a couple of side-loading pockets with the toadstools. And in there, I've collaged up these postcards, and there is journaling space on the back. Those are using some Tracy Fox tea cards and then some of my Woodland stamps. I really do like my stamp kits. Those are such a great fodder for design. So that piece flips back like this. And on the back side of this flip, there are 3 envelopes. Those flip open, and there are some of Tracy Fox's Flutterby Butterfly kit, some of her botanical labels, some of her toadstool ticket labels. There are a lot of the butterfly tags in here as well. And one in there. And these are vintage envelopes. And then there's just some journaling space there, or space where you could decorate some things. Those flip shut. And then on the back of this, there are a couple of bags. This one's got texture paste on it and an leaf. And in that one, there is a tag. Then there are some little mushrooms and a dragonfly. And in this is a really big gusseted paper bag back here. So again, there's lots of room for extra stuff in there. I have just put in a large index card tag with some eggs, feather and eggs on the bottom. And that fits perfectly down in there. But like I said, there is room to stuff that. The nice thing about a lap book is there is room to, there should be some room to increase things as you stuff pockets full. This can get bigger and bigger. I've left, quite a bit of room in the spines here so that you should be able to continue to fill it and stuff it out. And there should still be plenty of room in here. So that's the first section. Then we move on to this next section. I have again used one of my botanical definition rip strips here, and some of Tim Holt's fabric washi tape. down the side here. This is some Tim Holtz paper. And then this is an elastic closure that goes over this here. And I've left it loose enough that you could certainly fill more space in there. So that opens up and this flips out. On here, I've got some of the Tim Holtz vellum, printed vellum, in one of my definitions. And in this big giant pocket, I've got a big giant tag where you could journal. And I've sewn around everything. Yeah, I spent my time on this, but boy, did I love making it. It was so fun. And then we enter a series of flips over here. Pocket. There are a bunch of Tracy Fox like field notes labels throughout this thing as well. And in here there is a tag from a Tracy Fox kit. And I've topped that with some burlap. And then this opens and a long Tim Holtz vellum pocket here with a big long tag. You know, it was really interesting. Plenty of journaling space there. It was really interesting. It was fun to work on a much larger scale. Normally, you know, the journals that I make are pretty average, like 8.5 by 11, paper folded in half. So, you know, the biggest it gets is 6 by 9. This is such a, you know, much bigger space that I've got room for these big, huge, you know, tags and stuff and journaling pieces. That's kind of fun. It's like, you know, journal making on steroids. I've got a couple of pockets again that I made out of Tracy Fox toadstools, and it's got some of the butterfly pockets in there. These are all sewn around. These are from, oops, upside down. These are from her, it's a floral kit. Forgive me. It's a floral, like floral traits or something. Some butterflies. And then this, so that's the first section. Here's the next section of like file folder. You open this up and now here is a whole tall journal. And I have decorated this one with, it is really hard to hold this thing up to the camera. But I've made some really fun clusters that are very layered with Tracy's Fox's toadstool cutouts, mushroom cutouts, layered with sari silks and ribbons and all kinds of stuff. Some pages are just her toadstools and some labels. This is some very old paper that came out of a vintage photo album. Here's a big layered envelope with a lace pocket and a little tag and some mushrooms. Inside there is just a trifold journaling space. More of that vintage photo paper. It's got such a great feel to it. This is an Artsology, I believe, pocket, vellum pocket, and one of my field notes cards. So this is just a nice, tall, skinny thing. Here's one of my little stamps. My Woodland stamps in this little collaged file folder pocket. Another nice big collage. This one's actually, and it's a tuck spot. That one's actually got like some moss on it. Yeah, fun. Those were fun. They're sewn and collaged. A seed envelope, and that's got some journaling cards made out of some, this is some leftover pieces of Pico dye. And those, I believe, are prints that come from a Gibbet kit. Some of the tea cards. This is a die cut. Another lovely, this is an embossed butterfly up here, so it's shiny. And that's the end of the journal section. So we've got, you know, file folders, journal section, and then that whole thing flips open to a layered pocket. There are some tiny tags up in top, and then in each one of these there is one of the florals and a Tim Holtz little index card that I made that's just backed with some tea stained paper, a place to take notes, write quotes, whatever. And then on the back, we've got some more of those super cool vintage clippy guys that I can't remember what they're called. And those are actually secured right in with the book. And I've got a page out of the Fisheries, Game and Forest book. And I've attached that on the front. And then just a bunch of pieces of lined paper. So plenty of space to write in this thing. Plenty of space. And because, again, these are clips, you could stick more things in there. You could take these things out. Or if you've used them and you want to continue journaling in here, you could certainly, you know, attach your own things, slide your own things, photos, whatever, memorabilia up into those clips. So this all closes. And then this closes and it attaches, and that is that section. So that's the first two sections. That's the left side. Now we will move over to this side. Look at all the fun. Okay, in this middle section, right on the front here, we've got another little windy guy closure. And this is an envelope that opens up. And there are some Tracy Fox butterfly cards in there. Again, additional space. You could include your own things as well. And we'll windy guy it closed. That string isn't attached, so it's, there we go. A little... Again, there's some real moss on here. These are little cluster tags that I created. And then behind the envelope, there is also another one of the Tim Holtz index cards that I kind of created using some of the Tim Holtz paper. There's a paper ribbon with a bunch of punches on it, embellishing this beautiful Tim Holtz paper. So let's get into this section. That opens up. There's a toadstool pocket, and behind it are some more mushrooms. And then I made a tall pocket here out of some Tim Holtz vellum, and then I made up some more little clusters. And this is another journaling spot, another journaling card. And that flap opens up, and there's a, oh gosh. All right. When this opens up here, there's a big owl journaling card in this side pocket that's got this big feather on it. And then there's another signature here of just some sideways folded, kind of scrappy looking papers that have some Tracy Fox labels on them. And they are some lace stained papers that I made. And there you go, is another spot for journaling. And so we'll close that up. There's that flap. And then we'll move on to the middle section of this section. And there's a big envelope here on the front. I've created a pocket with some butterfly tags in it. Hold on, guys. Oh, my throat. Haven't talked this much for a while. The Canadian wildfires fires are still burning, and we're still getting smoke down here. And so I feel like my allergies and asthma have just kind of been on, you know, on 100 for a while now. So this is a big pocket that flips open. And on the back, there is a quote, a little... oh my goodness, I can't remember. Edith Holden. And a couple of mushroom tags stuck inside there. It talks about by the rose flesh mushrooms. And then in the big envelope, there is this wonderful textured wood grain paper that I have sewn around and made into a big tag. And that fits down in there. And then that closes. There's a little toadstool there. And then next we have another pocket here that flips. On the front there's a toadstool pocket, a botanical card, and then some of the tags from Tracy Fox. In this tall envelope here, I used some of her tea cards and I left them as a strip to turn it into a long, tall tag and another long, tall tag to fit in these long, tall envelopes. I thought that was a creative way to use the tea cards by not cutting them apart and turning them into a long tag. That opens up. I have collaged some of her butterfly kit on the back here, and that's a big envelope with a journaling card in as well. And then on the back side, I've used another one of those wonderful plates and made some slots here. And we've got 3 of these big, giant journal card tags in here. This is a textured wood one. It's got a great hand feel. This one has some raised images as well of deer, elk, owls, squirrels, and then a big, giant owl tag. And those all go back into these slotted pockets here. And we fold, and we fold, and we fold. And that is that section. On to the last section. This is the last section, but it's actually the very first one I created in this one, I think. This is a little flat piece that just kind of keeps it down. It's got owls are my jam, and this is a little die cut wood, like a laser cut wood one here. And it just gives it some heft that kind of keeps it flapped over and keeps it down, and that keeps this section closed. I've created a pocket on the front of that, and there are some of these little herbal botanical cards. Those are Tracy, and those go in this pocket. And then that, like I said, flips open, and that creates this big giant pocket here. And inside of that, I have used, I don't know where this came from. Maybe Tracy Fox. More than likely a Tracy Fox kit. I just turned it into a big, huge tag. Again, working on a giant scale. This is a really big pocket here, and there is definitely plenty of room to put more things in there as you collect them. I've put a tab and then a bigger tab on this file folder here. This is one of my botanical rip strips. This is the definition of fern. And then this is some paper that came from one of my freebies. Then we open that whole thing up, and there is a bulldog clip on top, and that is clipping in another big chunk that I have sewn across the top of some lined paper. And there's plenty of space here. I mean, you could make all kinds of journaling notes here. And it's got the definition from my rip strips of observation, which I thought, you know, the observation of the woodland. That makes sense, huh? So that clips onto the back side of that big pocket. And then we've got a layered big jumbo pocket here. On the front, I have done some of the Flutterby kit. On top of, I've sewn it over and sewn it onto some fabric and turned that into a big pocket on this huge envelope here. And behind it, I've got a journaling card with a tab. That's all sewn around, and that goes into this fabric pocket here. And then that is a big envelope that flips open. And on that, this is the card that goes in there. And then I've got a Tim Holtz vellum here, pocket on the front, and that's got another tag inside of it. And inside of the big envelope, there is one of my grungy file folders. It's the jumbo one, and I've layered it up and made a couple of pockets on the front and back with a couple of journaling cards in them. And these have some vine and some sewing. These pockets are made out of vellum. This is made out of painter's paper, some of the toadstools. And inside of it, it's just some space for journaling. And then we've got one more mega layered pocket thing going on here. And it's got a variety of tags from different Tracy kits. Some have bugs, florals, woodland types of things. Next, we've got another set of tags that I've used some of the tea cards to decorate. That's in here. Then we get to the smaller pockets, and there are some butterfly tags. And in the very top pocket, there are some toadstool mushroom tags up there. This whole thing's been sewn around. All of these have been sewn around, sewn in, attached down in really good and firm. We flip back this, and then we flip back that guy. And that is the forest and woodland one all put together. And again, like I said, there's room in there for you to expand and put more stuff in. You can continue to fill it, although it is pretty full on its own. I really love this one. Whoops. Well, I love them all, but this one, I mean, it's just the colors, you guys, the woodland colors, I love it. So anyway, these are in my shop. When this goes live, these will all be in my shop available. I thank you for taking the time to sit and look through these with me. It was a bit of a long video, but these take a while to flip through. There's so much stuff and details and places to hide things and look, and it keeps you looking and creative, and I hope that you found something that you love or some inspiration. Like I said, these will be in my shop, and now we will go into a section of life that is called busy for me, and so my frequency with which I will be here in YouTube will be a little bit less, but I do plan to continue to work on digital work, as well as you know, like hard product work as well. These were so fun to make that I might make a few more Lapbooks, just because these are so great. It keeps my brain going, thinking about all the different ways to make things flip and flap and open up. So, and I liked working on this large scale. So anyway, thanks guys. I hope that I will see you again soon. I hope that until I see you next time, you stay safe and healthy, that you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or middle of the night, whatever time of day it is on whatever side of this globe of ours that you live on. And until I see you, take care, stay safe, be healthy, and God bless you guys. Bye.